Good evening and welcome to Curated Cribs from the Taubman Museum of Art in downtown Roanoke, Virginia. And I welcome everyone to a special evening with artist Hunt Slonem. I want to, though, introduce Hunt and his background so everybody is familiar with the exhibitions, the permanent collection pieces that we have here at the Taubman Museum of Art. And Hunt Slonem draws from inspiration from the spiritual and natural worlds. He's renowned for his distinct neo-expressionist style. He is perhaps best known for his series of bunnies, butterflies, and tropical birds, which we might be able to hear a little bit of the birds in the background from his studio. Hunt repeats these motifs on an epic scale in an act of visual and artistic mantra. Rendered through loose gestural brushwork, his figures dissolve into rhythmic patterns at the edges of abstraction. Hunt holds a degree in painting and art history from Tulane University. His artwork can be found in the permanent collections of 250 museums across the world, including the Solomon R. Guggenheim Museum, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Whitney Museum of American Art, the Miro Foundation, New Orleans Museum of Art, and the Taubman Museum of Art, which we'd love to share a couple of images that are in our permanent collection and really started that relationship. And Hunt, this is St. Francis of Assisi from 1983. Do you remember that one, along with the Jesus Christ from 1989, which were gifted to the museum in the 90s?
630.
And Hunt has received critical acclaim for his restorations of national historic monuments, including Gilded Age mansions and antebellum plantations, which the artist saves from neglect and fills with installations that combine his artwork with 19th century antiques. Hunt has a long history with Roanoke. So he's exhibited regionally at the Eleanor D. Wilson Museum at Hollins University and the Olin Hall Galleries at Roanoke College, and twice with our institution in his 1992 exhibition in the Realm of the Spirit, which featured many of his works from the 1980s, including those two paintings that are in our permanent collection. And then nearly 3 decades later, I personally had the pleasure to work with Hunt for the museum's 2019 exhibition Huntopia, which filled 2 of our large galleries and really took over that part and really was the world of Hunt Slonem, which everyone on the Curated Cribs was able to see personally. So I know there'll be some other questions for you and me, Hunt. But at first, you're sitting in your studio, and I had the pleasure to visit in Brooklyn, and I remember walking into the space, being overwhelmed with all of the artistic, the paintings, that rhythmic pattern, the brilliant colors, but also the sounds and sights. And so we have a video prepared that we'll start out, and then we can talk as it's going through, Hunt, and some of the things that are in your studio, which also influenced and continued that conversation into the galleries. And your studio is filled with plants and different foliage. Here's the bunny wall. I think we recognize many of those that were in the installation of Huntopia.
Some of the dogs.
And it's really a huge studio warehouse space. And there's that purple puff, Hunt.
We missed it. You had it.
Exactly. I sat on that piece and I called Hunt from there and I said, we have to have this at the top of our staircase. So it, you could sit there and enter the exhibition. And you can see by the installation in the studio that, the hanging of the artwork and how we replicated that in the space, along with what you saw before with the frames and the furniture and the antiques. Tell us about your birds in the back part of your studio.
Well, this is a macaw, a military macaw, whose name is Arkol, after a friend in Turkey that I met. And they're just near where I paint, and great companions and highly intelligent creatures. I had some of them for up to 70 years. Well, they were 70. I probably had them for 50. You can see I'm working on a very large monsoon painting in the last shot. Anyway, the birds have always been with me. I've had them since I was a little kid in Hawaii, and I just can't imagine living without birds. And they're as smart as 3-year-old children, probably equally badly behaved, most of them. But anyway, they're really great to have nearby while I'm working every day.
Well, and I love this back part shot of your studio because it shows, your part in action, the prepping of the canvases, the smaller bunnies, and we saw those at the beginning of the studio, the finished pieces, but then also those in the back. Talk about that, and I know that the part of where that came from and what that means to you.
About the bunnies?
The bunnies, correct.
Well, I had a show in VCU in Richmond of my saint paintings in the 70s, maybe even. And they wanted it framed, and I couldn't afford contemporary frames. I've always gone to flea markets. I started collecting 19th century frames, which the little ones fit Victorian portrait photographs. Most of which have been discarded. And I started collecting them. They fit some of my early works that had to be framed for this show. And it got me addicted to searching for them and studying them and meeting people like Eli Wildner, who has made American and other frames incredibly valuable in the last few years. They have whole shows of frames alone. So anyway, I've included them as part of my work. I started doing more and more 8x10-inch paintings that I call my warm-ups, which is after Huntopman's term that he used for his morning painting. And the 10x8 thing just has continued for 30, 40 years now. And I started hanging them to dry on the wall, and then they became a salon-style hanging. Which I've done even wallpaper of. It's been photographed a billion times. And this whole 19th century idea, like at the Renwick Museum, where I viewed works as a kid, was all hung on the salon style format in the old frames. I also use very large ones, and I'm a great lover of frames, big and small. I've been asked to be part of lectures on frame usage. Artists in the 19th century, you could identify a painter by what frame it had on it. Whistler's frames were incredibly recognizable. I mean, just a million people. I can't even. John Singer Sargent liked the persimmon in the motif. And I'm more eclectic. I can't be that choosy because they don't make them anymore. But I love saving and restoring damaged ones. We can make molds and recreate, make them perfect. And in my old houses, they're just a dream. And I collect old paintings. I love to put old paintings back in frames. So many of them have been taken out, make mirrors for contemporary homes. I just think they work in all kinds of environments. And I find the collecting part of my art form. I made several trips to Roanoke before our show to gather things for the show, and also borrowed works and things from the permanent collection of the museum, which was inspired by the Warhol Raid the Refrigerator show that originally happened in New Orleans. I found it. I thought it was originally in Newport and traveled there. But, borrowing from the museum to do a new installation, I think is a wonderful idea. And I tend to pick things that wouldn't see the light of day anyway. So nice to work them into a concept that I have of viewing all these great things of other periods in a more colorful, upbeat environment.
Well, that's a great segue into the exhibition Huntopia, because that's right. We were in, so you, me, Joanne Casulo, and Patrick were in multiple places across Roanoke, Salem, and even outside, going into antique shops. And you just have a fabulous eye in terms of, like you said, the frames, and you picked antiques to add to the exhibition. Let's stop here. The candlesticks. Tell us about those, because Joanne and I picked out every single candlestick holder and brought it to you in multiple places for, your approval in terms of adding it to the installation. I mean, we had over 100.
Well, it's something that happened like the frame. Different concept. I love the frame. The candlesticks are pressed glass. Mostly there are some good old ones, sandwich glass and things, and the dolphin shape, which we find occasionally. But I'm not a big fan of them, but I like anything in a group. And I've always had this philosophy: you collect something that you don't like and you put 100 of them together, you're gonna like it. That's a huge impact. I've always had big dining room tables and even have lit 100 candles for dinner parties, which is not a good idea. But I just had this feeling of a seance and beckoning beings and light and, upping the vibration. So anyway, became a focal point. I have a whole table like this at the Armory still. But behind it are things that I found in Roanoke, which are now at Maidwood in Louisiana and Napoleonville, in the Charlet house behind the main house, which are incredible. This mantelpiece that we found in Roanoke is just a knockout. I can't rave about it. And I bought it, and we transported it back, to Louisiana. Anyway, so this is kind of a minimal version of what I do at my house. We found this great chandelier, I believe, that, what's the name of the place?
Black Dog Salvage, exactly.
Black Dog Salvage.
Yeah, and we have an image of the bank arch. Do you remember that? So
yes. And we went to estate sales, but the good thing is that I can reuse all this in my houses.
Exactly.
Isn't that magnificent? That just sets the tone. I knew the show was going to be great when we found this, and they considered letting us have it for the show, because that was a big move.
It was actually. We walked into Black Dog Salvage, the four of us, and you turned to Joanne and me and you said, "I want that in the exhibition." And it would, you said it's got to fit between the two galleries as that entrance way. So it was fabulous to work with Black Dog Salvage, make that happen. We measured it out, and yes, it fit. So
I think they were a little disappointed that I didn't buy it, but I really didn't have a place for it at that time.
Anyway, it is specific.
Probably still there.
Well, and you can see through, you can see your wallpaper, you can see, different, rooms that you created those vignettes, but it was really a community show. As you mentioned before, we borrowed from different places, and, collaborated with regional collections, but also worked with local collectors, like David and Susan Good, who are joining us this evening, as well as among others. The list goes on. We made a number of phone calls on the go when you said, wow, I need, like, in the back, a marble statue or a pedestal or another set of dining room, or you said we need more Oriental rugs.
I
So that
might add
was,
that we had things upholstered there that we found too with my fabric.
yes, that's correct. So we worked with Dominion Upholstery, and yep, brought in the different
I mean, it was a
furniture.
pretty monumental project,
Yes.
and it
And
took
yeah.
a long time to put it together.
Well, it was definitely monumental for us. And you can see the fabric here in terms of both the bunny fabric and also the tropical birds and the bunny walls. And I do want to, extend my thank you to Joanne Casulo, Leonhardt Casulo, and the Dorothea L. Leonhardt Foundation and the Dorothea Leonhardt Fund at the Communities Foundation of Texas for their generous support of Huntopia that really made this a reality for both the museum and bringing Hunt Slonem back to Roanoke. We worked with students at Roanoke College within the internship program, but also learning about the behind the scenes and doing the audio tour, working with you, Hunt.
And you also did a wonderful catalog.
We did. So I got it right
one
here.
Behind you, yeah.
It's right. It's one behind me as well.
I wish we printed 1 million of them.
And this is part of the catalog. And so the exhibition's shots here, this is a beautiful shot in that link in the seance room.
Right. That's the Countess in the red painting. She was a friend of Rudolph Valentino's and a mystic, and she speaks for everybody I've ever done this with. Very interesting. And there are things of mine and things from the collection all mixed together.
Well, like you said, it was like raiding, the vault. We went in there and you pick things that, combined with yours, but also with things that were purchased in Roanoke.
Yes.
And here's a photo going into both of the rooms where you can see the curiosity shop from our permanent collection. You can go into, you see the curtains hanging along with the different works, and then you can see Lincoln and the top hats. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I've painted Lincoln for forever. I wasn't particularly interested in him, but his wife, Mary Todd, interested me because she was such a shopaholic and had seances all the time. In the 19th century, instead of TV, people would speak with mediums or play music, I guess. And it was always talked about, but it was never mentioned. And Lincoln has been seen in the White House a lot. I've talked to a lot of people who've been there, and I mean at night, and nobody's seen Lincoln. But I have to say, the Bushes did a magnificent job of redoing the Lincoln bedroom. I mean, it's exquisite. I'm not raving about them, but I'm raving about the way the Lincoln bedroom looks today as compared to when it was done earlier on in the 60s. Anyway, so Lincoln wore top hats. I started seeing them everywhere. I think I found a whole bunch in Roanoke. They're from all over the world. Every corner of the earth produce top hats. They all have labels. The containers for them are phenomenally interesting. They're usually made out of leather and beautifully, beautifully crafted. I liked the idea of hanging the top hats with the Lincolns. I started doing that at the Ogden Museum in Louisiana and New Orleans. I had closets at Albania House in Louisiana, which was very rare for a house of its kind. And they were taxed on closets, so very few houses ever had them. That's why they had armoires. So I started filling the closets with top hats, and I have hundreds and hundreds of them. And I like hanging them with the Lincoln paintings. Now, during the course of my meeting people in Point Coupee Parish, a woman came from Baton Rouge to my house, and she said, "I have to give you the book, The Psychic Life of Abraham Lincoln." And in it, it talks about his life and his use of mediums. He belonged to no organized religion, and he went to mediums every day of his life, but they didn't, it was kept a national secret. A lot of senators and congressmen did as well, but it was not, they didn't want to publicize it. So very little is known about Lincoln's involvement with all of this, but he was actually probably even further into it than Mary Todd. And I will never forget the line in the movie about Lincoln where somebody, they're at the White House and Mrs. Lincoln's there and they go, "Madam, you have spent 4 years of your husband's salary redoing the White House and decorating it. Because, sir, when I came here, there were mushrooms sprouting from the walls." So she was, she was saving the White House way before Jacqueline Onassis ever thought about it. And she's just considered a freak of nature by people today. And I think very unfairly so. I think she was a difficult woman, but she was in a very difficult position, being a strong, intelligent personality. Her husband would never have been president without her. She was the one that had the money and spoke French, and he was brilliant. But I mean, she helped put him in office, and I don't think she's given much credit. And she lost her children. And I think in the bereavement, it's very satisfying. I lost my brother years ago. We talked to him a great deal through my channeler, Lena Fall. Anyway, so that's my involvement with Lincoln, and a million things that happened to me that are freaky. I was showing a friend these Paleolithic ruins near one of my houses, and I said, "Helena, we have to go look at this." And there was a picture of Lincoln on the ground in front of them, which I framed and saved. And people have given me Mary Todd's shawl. She had to sell her clothing to survive at one point. And it matched the bust I have of her. So whether it is or isn't, is documented by the making of this marble bust of a portrait of her, and all kinds of signatures. And anyway, there's a synchronicity there, and I'm daily involved in acknowledging.
Well, the Huntopia exhibition was an spectacular opportunity to share with our community, and the community was really involved, from the opera performing at the opening celebration to the regional collectors and Roanoke College student involvement. And so how, that was an important show for the museum, with our first catalog in over 10 years that we were able to work with you and publish. But also, what has it done for your career as you've had this large exhibition with the vignettes showcasing your work?
I just want to say before we go into that I had a lot of the work donated to a hospital in Roanoke, which to me is the most satisfying thing I can do, because it has a positive impact in a place like a hospital or a children's home or whatever. I've had orphanages visit me, and it's almost more than I can handle.
Well, I agree. I extend our thank you, as well as Carilion Clinic. So we are working with the new children's hospital that is opening in the Tanglewood area. And a number of the bunnies will be on view, as well as the large blue diamond dust bunnies. And so it's part of our sharing collection. And as Hunt indicated, we were able to, make that happen together with that donation, and really sharing with the healthcare systems, and having children be able to have that art as healing. And Hunt mentioned at the beginning with the bunnies, where it is very much so a meditative experience. And you saw that in the video, where he creates those every morning in the back of his studio, which is more of a meditative practice. If there we'll bring up some of the other images from the catalog. And I'll invite Joanne Casulo, who I said at the beginning, the two of us, along with Patrick and Hunt, were at multiple places. And here's Joanne with Hunt, that reintroduction here in Roanoke, but also our multiple trips around the area.
One image I'll never forget is watching Cindy and me with our own shopping carts, pushing somewhere in an antique mall north, I think in Lexington. We were following Hunt, where he's just pulling things and putting them in the baskets. And if we got 2 aisles away from him, we'd hear our name, Cindy, Joanne, and we'd have to come running with the shopping carts, because he found some great treasures there. And then, Cindy, there was that house we went to. Do you remember that house?
I do. Actually, I got a call from a text from Mary Legou, our longtime registrar, who said, there is an estate sale in her area where she lives, in the Fincastle, Troutville. And we headed right there and made it right before it closed. And we went through, that table actually that everybody saw at the beginning with the 100 of candles on it, that came from the estate sale. There were numerous items there, Joanne.
Yeah, there were, including Hunt and I felt that there may have been some ghosts there. The first thing we said to each other when we had a minute, I said, do you think what I'm thinking? But that's a plus in many ways. That's never something to be afraid of. It's just being, I don't know, playful and aware of the beautiful homes that have had many, many generations in them. It's nice to think that maybe the souls of people who were happy there remain.
And their memories continue as the pieces have new homes. And it sounds like you were just at one of Hunt's new castles.
Yes, the Searles Castle, which is in Great Barrington. Hunt has been negotiating for several years. And basically, the owners realized he loved it. He wanted to save it. He's not going to subdivide the property. I wish I had the statistics to tell you about it. But it's phenomenal. I mean, the pool outside is shaped like a church nave. When you look down on it, you're looking at an architectural plan of a medieval church, it looks like. And at the very tip of that was this Grecian pavilion that I said to Hunt, oh, it's so magnificent, but he's not made it there yet. I mean, there was a turret in the building. I went with a couple of friends, one of whom is an architect, and we were trying to find our way into that turret to be able to, we never found it. We went back outside and looked at it. Just so many rooms and secret pathways. It's just enormous.
And so that you can see the article that just came out, which you can see the outside of the castle. So looks amazing. Here we go. We're bringing it up.
While we're waiting for Hunt, I'll tell you, those 2 lions went up for sale. They're not original to the house, and they were made in China. But everybody I told, I said, Hunt Slonem, my friend, this artist, just bought the Searles Castle. And they said, what is he doing with the lions? And I had to tell them, well, they're not so old, and they're from China, and they went up for sale. They're not his. But while Hunt and I were visiting, it was just, I guess, 2 weeks ago, a woman walks in, and just out from the street. It was kind of crazy. So I guess everyone in town is quite curious about the artist who bought Searles Castle.
I am sure. And it looks like as we go down further in that article, you can see the grand staircase.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's just the grand staircase. There are hidden staircases, back staircases. It was at one time a boarding school. And I think most recently, maybe a school for troubled, privileged children. But to see the fire exits, they had to post, where your nearest fire exit was hilarious. It looked like an Escher drawing. Like you go to the right, you go to the left, then you go to the left, and then you take another right, and then you're out. But there's a lot to explore. And, he was just beginning to have things put up on the wall. So he had his paintings and some great old pieces, and it was just coming back to life. It's really remarkable. Literally, if you're looking at this photo that's on your computer screens, that's the main entrance. And we're standing in Main Street looking in at the castle. It is not, but just, I don't know, a football field away from the gates from Main Street.
Amazing. I know that he has numerous plantation historic homes from Louisiana up to New York area, and really for private use.
Well, he saves them. It's a calling, in many ways. He brings them back to life, and it's lovely. It's lovely to see. I believe the grounds of the castle may have been done by Olmsted. I'm not sure.
Wow, it was a phenomenal opportunity in terms of the exhibition that was here, Huntopia, which is a perfect name in terms of really the world of Hunt. And I remember, one of the questions always is, well, how does a title come about? And in this case too, we were doing kind of a word play. So as we were doing the antique shopping and going around and seeing Hunt in action, then the different words came together, and Huntopia was
wonderful
born.
About that collaborative process. I think I was somewhere in Salem. We went to the motor lofts, or the downtown Salem lofts, or whatever they're called, and we sat in the little living room and talked about it. I think it was a perfect name. It was a wonderful experience to see Hunt. His face would light up when he'd see certain pieces in the permanent collection. And it's just magic to watch him put things together.
Well, I'm going to call on David and Susan Good, because two of the works in the exhibition were from their collection. And David, I know with the Turbifills and numerous others, you were involved as you were on the board of the art museum during that timing, and had worked with Hunt and been introduced to him in other ways.
Yeah, I was going to reminisce with him about the time that the Turbifills and Susan and I visited him about 25 years ago in his then studio in New York.
Yes, that was a long time ago. And I met Joanne through the Turbifills.
Yeah.
And you.
That's right.
I don't see the Turbifills on the call though.
No. That's right. I met Hunt, who I've heard about for decades, through the Turbifills. That's so funny, but true. So you can't get away from Roanoke. It finds you.
No.
But we were talking while you were off. I don't know whether you heard or not about about your new place at Great Barrington.
Yeah.
Which is a most interesting town. And there is I was going to say farmer, but that doesn't express it. A woman who raises exotic sheep in Great Barrington, and they have special wool that makes very high-end fabrics, and there's her sheep are so valuable that they wear coats even in the middle of the summer. So you will have to discover this place, and you'll be enchanted by the poor old sheep that are wearing their coats in August to protect their own coats that are too valuable to expose.
Poor thing.
I can't remember exactly.
Yeah. We'll have to find where that, her name and what the place is. I can't
Well,
remember.
if you get up there, let me know.
Yeah, Great
Yeah.
Barrington. Great Barrington is a wonderful, wonderful place.
Yeah, we used to
Well,
know
it's
the Carswell, so we're up there and go visit them, and I don't.
And the Cindy, there's a house in Great Barrington that belonged to the purses that in the collection of the
Oh,
museum.
from Judith Lieber or from the
Judith
Shackmans?
Lieber.
Uh-huh.
Judith Lieber had a house in.
Well, her friend had.
Her friend had a house, and she would spend a lot of time in the summer in Great Barrington. Some years ago, this is all outdated information, Hunt, but you may want to find. Is Judith Lieber still alive?
No, unfortunately not, but
Her
But,
friend is the leader.
a great connection and story. I'm sure there'll be lots of stories, Hunt, to share after that. And you've been working on, for more than 40 years, and you continue to create. And I know I saw some
Way
new,
more.
yeah, way more. And
Way
so,
more.
what are you working on now? I know I saw some things in the studio through the video.
Well, I don't know if you, we didn't have any at the time, but, I'm doing a lot of sculpture. Just did a 16-foot mosaic rabbit that's going to be shown at the museum in Columbus, Ohio in September, and it's purchased by somebody in Minnesota. But I'm doing glass, I'm doing bronze, doing mosaic. I have plans to do these giant outdoor sculpture shows. We haven't really talked about that. And the diamond does, I think you had examples of that in the show. So I would say the glass is the newest thing. There's always new twists in my work that I can't even, they're subtle. And during COVID, I revisited my ocelot theme and did a whole big series of the ocelot things that had a little more thought, full time on my hands. But anyway, I'm taking on this castle project, which is, I forgot there was a railroad connection. Mrs. Hopkins from California and her husband were the builders of, it was called Kellogg Terrace. It's in the book on the great houses of the Berkshire area. Oh. And he was one of the founders of the railroads in California. And her house in San Francisco was my favorite thing that was ever built in America, and it was destroyed in the earthquake of, what was it, 1910 or something? I don't know, what was earlier? I don't remember when the San Francisco earthquake was. But anyway, she was building this house, and it's railroad money, and she was written up as the richest woman in America at that time. Mm. And her husband died, and she married her decorator, Mr. Searles, who was with Herder Brothers. And I was just telling Joanne, there was a great organ in the music room, supposed to be the biggest one in a private home in America. And we have a picture of it. It was taken out. They sort of became unfashionable at a certain point. Hughette Clark's family had one that was thrown in the East River when they didn't want it anymore. It's hard to repurpose them. Anyway, so I forgot about the railroad connection.
It seems like
Cindy, the railroad is everywhere.
That's what I was just gonna say.
We'll have to follow up on that connection.
I just had a show at the Rothko Museum in Latvia. Rothko was from Latvia. My ancestry is Lithuanian and Russian. And my great uncle, who lived to 110 for some reason, was born in Latvia. I still don't know why. But Via Selman's, when she had a show there, said it was her favorite show that she'd ever had. The artist, from Latvia. But anyway, so I have a lot of big installation projects coming up in the next few years as well. But the Roanoke was really a wonderful collaboration. I've never had such cooperative and fun people to put it together with. I think we came up with a lot of great things.
Yeah, we did. And question came in and the video at the very beginning, we saw the bunny wall, which, you know, we replicated in the exhibition along with the bunny couch. But there was one piece there was one of your glass bunnies as a sculpture
Oh, we
on
did have
the
some.
frame. Yeah. What is that part of the new series? Not only
Yeah.
for the tabletop, but also hanging?
Yes, those are called trophy bunnies, right?
Trophy bunnies. Well, I think we'll have to add some of those.
Sorry, salon. I forget what they're called. They're called salon. And when I was in Seattle making them, they were going to go into the wall just with the back part. And I thought we should put them in a frame, and then we started playing with fabrics. And I love putting the same color velvet behind the rabbit and hanging them. I think it's a great thing, and it's kind of there's so many trophy heads that just disturb me to no end. So this is a wonderful violence-free alternative.
Well, I'd love to add some of those to the sharing collection as we move forward with the salon. So any other questions? It's been it brings back so many memories, Hunt, for both myself, for Joanne, David and Susan, and those on the call as we remember walking into Huntopia and that energy, the zest, the rhythmic patterns, the vibrant colors, but also the combinations.
We had such a great dinner in honor of the opening too, very in keeping with the whole project. I'm sure it's not my last visit to Roanoke. So I'm certainly not going many places these days.
Definitely not your last visit to the Taubman Museum, Hunt.
No, definitely not. And there was one painting that I was so thrilled that I saw at Roanoke, and it was years ago in the Taubman, and it was of a famous American photographer. I kept saying Stieglitz, but it wasn't Stieglitz. I hope we put it in the show.
Steichen.
You know what I'm talking?
It was the Steichen.
It was a Steichen, that's correct.
Yeah, it was just great.
Yeah.
Such a thrill. That's why I love visiting these museums. There's so many unknown treasures and stock, amazing.
And we're flipping through the catalog now as we round out the curated cribs, but we can see you built the rooms. You picked the colors on the wall along with the team. We added, that nuances from your studio, like the different frames with photos in it that we saw in your space, but see here, the chandeliers. So
don't forget the bunny wallpaper as you walk in.
Yes.
I don't know if we've got a picture of that. I love this. We were trying to work out a trade so I could keep it, but we never got anywhere with that.
Well, and that was just as you came up the stairs or came out of the elevator, you were met with Huntopia with the bunny wallpaper. And then you entered, and didn't matter which area you entered.
There we go.
Exactly. You could go in and you went into each vignette and was just surrounded by your paintings paired with our permanent collection, and also borrowed, as I said, the community all around.
I also have to pay tribute to our dear friend Patrick, who left us, and he was such a huge help to me at that time, and so sorry about his passing.